Taking a look at the agenda here, we're going to look at some of the industry trends, looking at some of the reasons why you would want to use Design Configurator, configure to order, engineering to order, taking a look at an overview, some examples, and taking a look at the interface and a couple of the workflows. So let's get started here. So a lot of the industry is really trying to find ways to maximize and get their products out quickly, but they need to have flexibility and have the ability to go with smaller production runs, but not have the cost normally associated with a one-off or having that design time of having to make changes to have something that's a little more configurable. So taking a look at where the industry's been and where the industry needs to go, trying to understand what is going to maximize profitability, time to market, and that aspect. Design Configurator really lends itself to that. If you have a configure to order situation or an engineering to order consideration, being able to get in there and set up parameters and rules in an easy to use interface that will help maximize that design. So taking a look, as products are developed, everything is becoming more and more complex. Customers are demanding, more options, more choices, kind of have it your way type thought process where, everybody wants something a little bit different. They don't want something that is just off the shelf. They want to configure to exactly the way they want that. So driving that is, how do we build in that variety without adding cost, right? Again, talking about the one-off or low volume runs. How can we maximize that? How do we bring in our teams, right, and be able to collaborate across the platforms? Dee showed, accelerator share and the tools Siemens has to help facilitate that. But looking at how we can take a design, make it configurable, and make it so that the designers have the flexibility to build in changes and options, and then be able to deliver that to sales and ultimately to the end customer as a valid solution. Looking at how we can tie in related features, right? So we're gonna, as we look through this, we're gonna look at some of the tools that are in there, really help identify how we can create rules and reuse features, and then coming up with visualization and analysis through this as well, so we can validate kind of our designs, look at if and statements, and build that into the knowledge that we have and want to be able to use. So again, taking a look at what configured product industry trends are, manufacturers are getting in there with higher levels of customization. And again, we want to be able to have a tool that will lend itself to achieving those goals. How do we manage the BOMs? How do we manage the drawings? We need something that is really going to be able to control all that and make it efficient and easy to use, easy to set up, with a lot of complexity built in, but not having to go in and write code. We want a user interface that's easy to use, understand, that our designers and engineers can use to build these configurations. So looking at a common scenario, right? A customer is going to put out a request for a proposal. That bid's going to come into your organization, and traditionally, there would be a lot of back and forth between sales and engineering. Say, can we do this? What are the cost impacts of it? Maybe we have to get in purchasing. Maybe we have to get into cost accounting, because we don't know where those costs are going to be. We want to build a tool that sales can quickly get in and say, all right, here's all the options we have to configure. this is within scope. We already know what our costs are going to be because we've already kind of worked out that process, and we're able to go out and do that. But today, you know, the bottleneck is that process of identifying, one, can we do it? Two, what are the options? Three, how much is it going to cost us? Now, we also have to add in time for engineering to make the changes to the assembly, make the changes to the drawing, release the packet, and get it out to the floor for manufacturing. And that all adds in cost. And by the time we're done, you know, we may have eaten up a lot of the profitability. And then sometimes during that process, maybe, you know, they've done similar things and they don't necessarily go and talk with engineering. They say, oh, we've done this in the past. We did it for this customer. Maybe not thinking that that customer bought, you know, 10, 20, 100 of that, where this new customer is buying one. So you could really, you know, have an issue with your profitability on that. So taking a look at, you know, this is the engineering bottleneck. You know, long lead times, margin and erosion, lower win rate because, you know, it's just taking that extra time to get in there. So now we've got the order, engineering still the bottleneck, going out, making the process. So we want to find a way to increase, you know, our win rate, reduce the time for the proposal to get through. We want to reduce the margin loss. We want to reduce the design efforts, and we want to, you know, get that change through quickly, which will hopefully lead to an order, and we'll be able to close more business. So this is just taking a look at, you know, some of the thoughts of, you know, how can we reduce? What do we need to reduce? How do we need to get in there? And things to think about when we're doing this process and getting in there and making sure we maximize. So taking a look at the different options here, right? So we're going to look at the configure to order. We're going to look at engineering to order process, right? So we start off with a standard product, right? No additional definition. The order's placed. It's just a part number. It sells, it goes out to manufacturing, it's produced, and then delivered to the end customer. Configure to order, right? We have variable products. The customer has set options that they can change. So using a vehicle as an example, do I want a 2-door? Do I want a 4-door? If it's a truck, do I want 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive? So we kind of configure these set options to what we're looking for, how we want it configured out of a set book of what's available. Then we've got the engineer to order, right? So this is taking a look at the customer says, all right, you know, I want this truck, but I want it to be an extra 100 inches longer. Or I want dual rear wheels, right? Things that are not part of the standard design for that product. So we've got to be able to capture that, bring that in, and be able to execute on that to create those orders and satisfy the customer needs. Again, what do we have, you know, in each of these areas? So standard products, we're going to have, you know, low complexity, high similarity. So we're going to have, you know, same bombs going across, low part counts, right? Because we already know what we're doing, and maybe we have inventory sitting on the shelf ready to go. Configure to order, so we may have higher part counts because, you know, we have to be able to have these options available, even though they may not sell. You know, higher complexity, higher variability, and then we start to move into the blended of configure to order, moving into the engineer to order. So maybe they're asking for something that's not available. So maybe they're asking for a custom paint color. You know, it's still a configure to order, but we're adding an additional step there. And then we get into the engineer to order, right, where we have high complexity. we don't know what parts are going to be used because they may not have been developed yet. The BOMs are going to be different. And then we get into the far extreme, right, where we're creating custom products. So everything's a one-off, everything's from scratch. We're going to focus more on the configure to order and engineering to order side. So taking a look at the overview here. So again, we're looking at the assembly modeling side of our solid edge platform here. This is one piece, one tool that builds into the whole collaboration, single source of the truth, and then, working into the mechanical design, the electrical design, being able to go into simulation, manufacturing, and then, ultimately the technical publications, whether it's the drawings for the shop floor or technical manuals, we're going to be able to cover all that. So we're focusing on one piece, which would be on the assembly modeling side, because we want to take a look at configuring our assemblies. So the power of being able to deliver automation into our designs is really where we're going to benefit. So advanced rule-based automation of 3D CAD, easy to use ruling and authoring. So we're going to have a dialog box that's going to pop up that's going to give us guidance on how we want to configure, what changes we want to make, if and statements. So, if we put this 100mm knob on, we only have set number of options after that. So that way it'll start to exclude, as we build it, it'll start to narrow us down into where we can go with that design, and then we can quickly see if it needs to change to an engineer to order, or if it's truly a configure to order. So the challenge is, right, we need to configure new products to meet customer requirements. We want to capture that knowledge so we can reuse it, right? That's one of the key benefits here, is being able to reuse what we've already done. We want to be able to optimize the process, right? So we want to be able to have repeatability. We want to know if we're going to have issues. So if we've gone through a configurator exercise, we know if we put this particular bolt in, then we have to eliminate maybe this feature because it's incompatible with it. So we don't have the issues of, okay, somebody may have missed an option or missed a design change that had to happen because of this configuration. We're going to build all that knowledge in and be able to use that. So how can that help, right? So it's built into Solid Edge, so we're going to be working within the tool that we're already familiar with. The solution's really optimized for the small to medium business, easy to use, easy to deploy. Definitely benefit designers and sales engineers, because the designers are going to be able to get in there and spend the time to make these configurations, understand what changes need to be made, build in the rules. And then the sales engineers are going to have a tool that they can easily get in there, sit down with the customer, say, all right, here's the options we have. Let's run through this. Is this what you're looking for? Great. Now we can place the order for this. So it definitely speeds up getting that to market quicker, meeting the customer requirements. We'll have a consistent product design based on rules. Right, that's a key there. We're building in rules, so we're building in logic that will help us down the road. So taking a look at an elevator design, right, manufacturer, right. So their challenges were configuring new products to meet the customer needs. You think about an elevator, right? How many people does it need to hold? How many floors is it going up and down? Right, there's a lot of complexity there. To be able to go in and say, all right, I've got a building that's 30 floors. I need to have a freight elevator and I need to have a passenger elevator. How quick traditionally would that take for somebody to sit down and say, all right, I need all this tracking. I have to have so much feet of cable. I've got to have doors on every floor. Panels got to change with the number of buttons for the floors. There's a lot of things that need to go into that. If it's a freight elevator, is there a front door only, front and back door? Does the back door only open on a certain floor? So having a tool to be able to go in and quickly configure that and be able to turn that request for proposal around to the customer so that they can say, all right, this is within budget. I know what I'm going to have. And then being able to, once that order is placed, have our documents ready for us to go out to engineering or go out to the manufacturing floor and be able to manufacture this. Purchasing will be able to order materials based off of that because we already have that bill of materials set up and understand what's going into it. Looking at another case study here, right? So fire door design manufacturer, they need to, again, common theme, right? Meet the customer requirements quickly and accurately. Excuse me. Want to be able to automate the design process, right? So the fire door is a single door, double door. Does it have to have locks to hold it open, locks to close it in case of a fire? Is it automatically closing in case of a fire? You know, there's a lot of things, again, just like the elevator that needs to be in place. How thick is it? What's the fire rating on it? And to be able to turn that request for proposal around and then being able to automate the drawings and have it be able to go out to the shop floor. We know our design is going to be correct because, again, we're working off of rules. So we know that we're not going to miss something as a designer based off of what the customer is looking for. You know, I've got a few more case studies in here. But again, it's the same type of theme that, you know, we're looking at what options do we have and how quick can we get that information to the customer accurately, and then how quick can we get that into production and out on the shop floor and be able to produce that. So taking in not only consideration of how do we get the proposal and understand what's going on to the customer, but we also get an understanding of, you know, what materials are going to be needed. Did we forget to ask the customer a question? You know, maybe it's some small little design feature. When we're going through the configuration, that's going to be an option that we're going to have to answer. We can quickly relay that to the customer. Hey, are you looking for right hand open, left hand open? Not thinking that how that may affect what's going out to the production floor, but it's going to be answered. We're going to know, and then that packet's going to be able to be delivered. Plus, we'll be able to have, you know, the 3D data, so we can also show that to the customer and present it as the option as well. So taking a look at the interface, right, this is built right into Solid Edge. We're able to go in and, you know, capture the models, collect input fields. So, you know, what do we want to do with this model? Is this model, is there an option that it's going to be a completely different model for a certain configuration, or are we eliminating a whole? We're able to go in and make those definitions and define those actions, and then be able to go and play and configure as we're going through. So again, taking a look at it, being able to select the model part, assembly and drawings, go through the configuration process. The tools are there. We have a tree view, list view. That makes it easy to go through and select those models. So you can see here, and looking at the configuration steps, we're going to go into step 1, step 2, step 3, and walk through consistently and repeatedly how we're creating these configurations. So first here, you know, we're going to look at, we're selecting what components we have. We're going to add that selection to our configurator because maybe we're changing out an item. So we have a nice dialogue that's right inside the product. We interact with our model and the design configurator to walk through the process of creating this configuration. So collect and input data field, right? So what are we changing? Here you can see some drop-down rules for functions. Is it a decimal? Is it going to be text that we want to put in there? Is it a yes or no number? Things that you would see like in Microsoft Excel, things that we have learned over the years, and a nice clean dialog box of how we want this data portrayed and filled out, right? So as we're going through, we're able to select, like here, I want to change the value of this, or I want to change the name and add a field. Quickly get in there, change that. So here they're looking at the knob. Is there a color to it? What's the size of it? We're able to go in and define all that, and then pull out our expressions to drive that information and make those changes and be able to update our configuration based off of that, right? So real easy to use. Here, they're looking at building in a list of values. So they have options for what is the ability to have selected. Here you can see they're pulling out the expression. So we want to be able to change that. So it's real nice and easy to use. So if I do an option with 2, an option with 3, an option with 4, these values are going to change, right, based off of that. So just again, the ease and the functionality of being able to walk through and pick up and create these rules in a nice, clean environment. So we can bind things to rules. We can bind the property to rules. We can use simple expressions. We can create conditions. So the if and and, truth mapping rules, being able to apply that, adding in fields. Here, what do we want to set for our property, our material? Do we want to change colors when we change our configuration? Are we adding models, renaming models, removing models? These are all steps in the workflow that you're going to step through and build upon when we're making these changes and working on these configurations. And through this process, it's building up a dialog box. So we can add in pictures. So it'll make it easier for like a sales engineer to go in and say, all right, here, Mr. Customer, let's sit down and look at this configuration. We go through and answer all the questions. We have visual representation of what our models are going to look like, or what questions are we trying to answer for clarity. And then we can go in and create it and look at our model after that, right? So here, we're able to take a look at the dialog. We want to go through the process. We want to pick a certain type of knob. We want to pick a color. And then it's going to go out and build that configuration for us, right? So the customer is going to be able to see it. The sales engineer is going to see it. We're going to have all of our associated drawings for that configuration. So once we do get the order, we're going to be able to push that out to manufacturing, out to purchasing, get our parts ordered, get our parts manufactured, and then be able to deliver that to the customer. So it's a nice, clean, step-by-step guided process. It's a comprehensive suite of tools that we have available to us for making these and getting them out to the market faster and quicker, especially being able to answer those requests for proposals, right? A lot of us that have had to work in the custom world, working with configurations, modifying for specific customer needs. We need a tool that will get us in there and allow us to work more efficiently, work quicker, set up a lot of the rules so we don't have to worry if we're missing a design element. Maybe we eliminate a design review meeting because we know we've already walked through all the rules. So we don't have to worry about, hey, did I miss a hole? Did I forget an option? Oh, I needed to add this in here, but I forgot to put the mating holes in it, right? We've already walked through that process. We already have that information.
Thanks for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest engineering news and information. And to see all of our upcoming events, please visit our website at saratech.com/events.